If you're hearing this voice, it means you're one of us. It means you feel it too. That the world isn't what it seems. Subscribe and unlock the truths others are too afraid to even imagine. Stories that won't let you sleep. Truths you'll never find in the news. Are you ready? Then listen carefully. That's the werewolf apocalypse, a terrifying tale of transformation and survival, the screech of twisted metal, the scent of burning oil, and rust. A silence so thick, it seemed to soak in the screams of the past. An abandoned industrial zone on the edge of Chicago had long become a dead place. Once, it was the beating heart of the Midwest steel industry. Now, just ruins, devoured by time and mold. But every night, when thick gray fog wrapped the city like a shroud, one of the hangars would come alive. It would breathe. And inside, something moved. Mark Burrows hadn't been human for 8 years. Once, he was just a factory worker. Quiet, alone, unnoticed. His wife left. His friends forgot him. His coworkers looked through him. Then came that night. The night he stayed late for overtime. First came the pain. Then the screaming. Then nothing. And the beast inside. He never saw who it was. The first werewolf. The one who cursed him. But he knew this much. Ever since that night, every full moon had turned him into something else. Something cruel. Unstoppable. Immortal. He tried to run. He tried to hide. He tried to end it. Nothing worked. Now he lived here, among rust and darkness. He chose this place because it reminded him of himself. Abandoned, forgotten, dangerous. But one night, everything changed. First, he smelled them. Strangers, humans, nervous, armed, too sure of themselves. He rose from the cold floor and straightened slowly. Even in human form, his body felt alien. Muscles stretched too tight, joints aching from old wounds. Then, he heard the door creak open. Target number 14. Likely in Building B. Move fast. No contact. Copy. Thermal's clean. But I swear I feel something. Feels like he's already here. Mark smirked. He knew who they were. Hunters. Ever since he started going out at night, he'd been noticed. Security cams. Dead bodies. Blood. Someone had survived. Told stories of a man. With wolf eyes. Then they came. Men in black body armor. Private military patches on their gear. They thought they could catch him. Lock him up. They had no idea. He let them enter. Let them believe they were in control. Then, he became the hunter. The darkness inside the hangar flared with rage. His body cracked and twisted. Skin ripped. Bones shattered outward. His face stretched into a muzzle. He became what he had been for 8 years, a werewolf. And tonight, for the first time in forever, he wasn't running. Mark bared his fangs, his gaze, yellow, wild, unblinking. He felt their fear before they even stepped inside. The first foot crossed the threshold, and the hunter froze. "Commander? Something's not right in here." "Keep moving. One target. He's worn down." "Repeat. Engage on sight." Mark heard it all. He moved between pillars like a shadow, powerful, silent. His claws grazed the metal columns without a single sound. 3 hunters, 2 with rifles, 1 with a flamethrower. They thought they were ready. They weren't. A roar tore through the air, beastly, untamed. It slammed into their ears, forcing them all to duck by reflex. "Contact! Contact! He's above us!" "Where the hell is he?" The answer came fast. Claws ripped into the first man's throat. His rifle clattered away. His eyes froze wide. His scream drowned in blood. The others opened fire. Bullets screamed through the darkness, ricocheting off steel. But he was already gone. Too fast. The flamethrower turned and met yellow eyes just 5 feet away. No! Too late. Mark lunged and tore the man in half with a single, brutal motion. Blood splashed the floor in thick red waves. The last hunter dropped his gun. Please, don't kill me. Please. Mark stopped. The boy couldn't have been older than 20. Shaking, eyes full of tears. The beast inside roared. It wanted to finish it, to kill, to tear. But Mark fought it. He stepped closer, each breath ragged, the scent of blood, metal, and terror everywhere. He leaned in, snout nearly brushing the boy's face. The kid closed his eyes, and Mark vanished into the darkness. Because not all of him was the monster. Not yet. And the next morning, the city woke again. Cars rushed to work, coffee brewed, children walked to school. And somewhere in the basement of an old laundromat, Mark washed his hands. The blood had dried. Fresh scars lined his body. His mind howled. He stared into the mirror. "You're losing control," he whispered. "And soon, he'll come all the way out." A dusty old TV screen flickered to life behind him. The news. Bodies have been found in the Chicago industrial zone, believed to be private military contractors. The cause of death remains unknown. Eyewitnesses report seeing a creature resembling a giant wolf. Police have yet to comment. Some experts claim it's the work of radical activists. Others think it might be viral marketing. A group of anonymous hackers has leaked restricted surveillance footage showing something. Mark turned off the screen. He knew things were about to change. They wouldn't just send hunters anymore. They were coming. And at that moment, he understood. It was time to leave. Time to find answers. To uncover what he had truly become. And who had made him this way. He stepped out of the basement, leaving behind only the scent of iron and an empty room. Drones buzzed above the streets, and miles away in a secret government facility, men in suits stared silently at hazy footage on a screen. Is that him? Yeah. The prototype. Still alive. Then it's time to begin the operation. This was only the beginning. He drove through the night. His old pickup rumbled down I-55, heading south, away from Chicago, into the silence of rural Illinois. Rain slapped against the windshield like it was trying to wash away everything he'd done. But memory doesn't wash off that easily. Bullets, blood, screams, and the beast inside, whispering, "You'll do it again." Mark gripped the wheel tighter. Veins bulged. His skin trembled, like something inside was ready to tear its way out. He didn't know where he was going, just away from cities, from people. But the beast didn't rest, and neither could he. He felt it. The moon was growing. Just a few nights left. On the edge of a nowhere town called Black Hollow, he pulled into a gas station. The place was falling apart. Just a rusted canopy and a flickering sign. Inside, an old man reading a newspaper and a young girl pouring coffee. Mark stepped in, kept his eyes on the floor. "Long road ahead, friend," the old man mumbled. "Just driving," Mark replied flatly. "Got a room for the night?" "Motel's across the road, but strange things happen there. People complain about howling. Wolves, they say, scratching at the walls. One guy even disappeared." Mark froze. "When was that?" "A couple weeks back. No one's stayed since. Except you." Something about this place felt too familiar. That night, Mark woke up screaming. Sweat, ragged breath, claws tearing into the motel wall. His claws. He was transforming. Without the full moon, without pain. Something was changing. And that's when he realized this wasn't a curse anymore. It was evolution. Morning came. He woke up naked on the bathroom floor, hands covered in dried blood. He trembled, and then he saw it, scratched into the foggy glass with something sharp. There are more. They're waking up. Now, meanwhile, in a secure facility beneath Nevada, where DARPA's darkest files were stored, an alarm went off. A thermal map of the U.S. lit up with a flash. Illinois, Black Hollow. "He's active again," a voice whispered from the shadows. "And he's not alone. Project Lycan is out of control. Then it's time to wake the others." Mark left Black Hollow before sunrise. But those words, there are more. They burned in his mind. His instincts were sharper, not just wolf-like. Something else, older. The beast inside was stronger, smarter, hungrier, and something was calling to him, not in words, but in whispers to his very blood. He drove for hours without stopping, until he reached the hills of southern Missouri. No cars, no lights, just abandoned shacks, dead trees, and forgotten roads. And the deeper he went, the louder that whisper grew. He started seeing things, not visions, not hallucinations, images. Wolf eyes in the dark, shadowy figures standing around fires, faces torn by claws, and always the howl. Long, endless, calling. On the third day, he turned onto a forgotten back road and found himself at the mouth of an old mine, swallowed by forest. A rusted iron arch above the entrance was bent outward, like something had ripped through from the inside. Mark stepped out of his truck and felt the ground tremble beneath him. Not physically, instinctively. His blood boiled. The wolf inside him howled with anticipation. He stepped into the darkness. The scent, barely there, but horrifyingly familiar. Werewolves, not like him. Others, many. He heard them moving. Something crawling along the ceiling. Something breathing behind his back. But he wasn't afraid. He knew if he wanted answers, he had to face them. "He's here," whispered a voice in the dark. "You are awakened." "Who are you?" Mark growled. "What did you do to me?" A shape emerged from the shadows. Huge, 3 times the size of a man. A muzzle carved from nightmares. Fangs as black as coal. Eyes pupilless and dead. When it spoke, the voice sounded like it came from beneath the earth. "We are the first. Made before the wars, before the humans. We are blood. We are darkness. You are one of us. But still, you sleep. I'm nothing like you." "No," the creature rumbled. "You're worse. Because you still have a heart." Mark tensed. The beast stepped closer. Not to attack, but to study. It raised a hand and touched his forehead. Flash! Images exploded in Mark's mind. A laboratory scientist's. He was strapped to a table. Injections, screams, a cage. Project Lycan. They had created them, and he was one of the experiments that had broken free. "You were the first," the creature whispered. "A test. A failure. A runaway. But you survived. Then why? Do I remember my life before all this? Because you're still human. But not for long. When the eclipse comes, you'll become your true self." Mark stumbled back. Something deep inside groaned. The beast growled. He could feel it. Something massive was coming. Something global. The eclipse. A point of no return. "I won't let you destroy everything. You can't stop us. They've already awakened the others. You shouldn't fear us. You should fear him." "Him? Who?" No answer. Only a low, guttural laugh, like wind whispering through dead trees. Then came the roar. So deep, so loud, it made the walls of the mine tremble. And Mark knew. That sound didn't belong to anything he'd seen. This was something else, stronger, madder. He staggered out of the mine, barely standing. He knew. Time was running out. He had to find where it all began, where he was turned. That's where the answers were, and maybe a way to stop what was coming. But in the woods behind him, the shadows moved. He was being followed, and not by one. The hunt had only begun. He hadn't slept in 3 days. His veins buzzed like liquid fire. The beast inside stopped listening. It was harder and harder to return to human form. He knew this wasn't temporary. This was forever. He stopped at an abandoned service station in southern Kansas. Flickering neon, a rusted awning, cracked walls. The air smelled of mildew and fear. He stepped outside, squinting in the sunlight, and saw them, watching. A shadow on the roof, a glint in the mirror of an old truck, a sniper scope. He didn't wait. He dove. Just as a bullet slammed into the car hood, he ran. Through the building, shattered glass, sparks, screams. He's here. Target spotted. Visual confirmed. Move to intercept. Do not take alive. Mark leapt over a fence, tumbling into a ditch. His heart thundered, but not from fear, from fury. He knew who they were. Not mercs, not military. Them. The ones who made him, released him. Now they were here, to erase the evidence. But this time, he was ready. He lay in the tall grass, still, listening. One of them got close. Mark didn't see him. He felt him. The sweat, the gear, the pulse of a radio signal. Closer, closer. Inhale, jump. Silence. One was gone. The second turned, took a blow to the chest, launched 5 meters back. Bones cracked, blood gurgled. He managed to scream, and then the black helicopter. Its blades roared overhead, spotlights slicing the dark. Target locked. Deploy gas. Repeat, deploy gas. Mark felt it immediately. The air changed. Bitterness on his tongue, blurred vision. He ran, but his legs buckled. He collapsed, fell. Something hissed near his head, sedative, then a flash, a shot, but not at him, at the chopper. Second shot, explosion. The helicopter tilted, spun, crashing behind the hill. A fireball lit the sky. Mark faded, almost unconscious. Hands grabbed him. A voice whispered, Don't move. I've got you. Hold on. He couldn't see the face, only the voice. A woman's. Sharp. Alive. When he woke up, he was in a cabin. The smell of herbs, medicine, wolf fur. A woman sat beside him, tall, a braid over one shoulder. Green eyes. You're not alone, she said. There are more of us than you think. But you're different. They're after you alone. You're the key. The key to what? To a door that must never be opened, and to a creature that must never awaken. Mark said nothing, but inside, everything screamed. He could feel it. They were closer than they seemed, and whoever he was, the one they whispered about, he was already awake. Mark didn't sleep. He sat at the cabin window, watching the forest grow darker, his breath deeper, his vision sharper. His hearing picked up every twig, every rustle. He couldn't relax, not even for a second. Her words echoed in his mind. You are the key to a being that must never wake. She told him her name was Lara. She used to work at the research facility, the one that started the Lichen Project. She said they created dozens like him. All failed, except him. He was the only one who survived, the only one who adapted. They didn't expect that. They feared it. So they created something else, stronger, built to stop him, if necessary. They called it the Black Beast Protocol, and now it had been activated. Lara laid a map in front of him. Next to it, a folder of classified documents, photos of corpses, X-rays, surveillance stills. A creature locked in a capsule underground, 3 meters tall, muscle like a beast, covered in fused scar tissue, eyes closed, but in one image, one eye open, glowing red. They kept him buried beneath the lab in Arizona, Lara said quietly. He wasn't alive, he was dormant, like an ancient curse buried in steel and stone. But when you escaped, they began waking him up. Why? Because they're afraid of you, and because they think they can control him. But they're wrong. He's older than us, older than time. Mark didn't answer, but something inside clenched. The beast within didn't tremble from rage, but fear, for the first time. Mark was afraid. That night they tried to sleep again, but the silence was a lie. Near midnight, Mark opened his eyes and knew he wasn't alone. A figure stood in the doorway, tall, still, but not hostile. There was something familiar, like the beast inside recognized a brother, or a rival, or a mirror. "He's coming," the figure said, "and you have to decide. Will you be the hunter or the hunted?" "Who are you?" Mark rasped. "I was like you once, before they tore me apart and put me back together." The figure stepped into the moonlight. His body was covered in scars, his chest part metal, his skin gray like scorched earth, one eye mechanical, the other wolf-like, glowing. "They used to call me Rainer. Now, I'm the prototype, the one before the black one. And if you're not ready, he will destroy you." Mark stood, his fists trembled. The beast inside was clawing to get out. "Then tell me where he is, and I'll go first." Rainer nodded. "Southern Arizona. Facility codename, Fireheart. 30 meters underground. That's where you were born. And that's where this ends." And at that very moment, deep beneath the surface, inside the buried tunnels of the facility, red lights began to flash. The generators kicked in. Sirens screamed. The containment capsule had failed. The one hidden away for decades had opened its eyes, and from its chest erupted a roar so powerful, the wind carried it for hundreds of miles. It had awakened. Mark's heart pounded like a war drum. With every hour, the beast inside was becoming less of an instinct and more of an identity, a body, a truth. But still, he held on. Still, he remained himself, though he didn't know why. Maybe because he refused to be a monster, like the ones that whisper in the dark. 2 days later, they reached the outer perimeter of Fireheart. Rainer had gotten hold of an old military truck. Lara took care of the tech. She hacked the outer security systems, disabled a few external cameras. The main entrance was fortified with concrete and steel, but beneath it, a forgotten shaft. A mining tunnel, the same one Rainer once used to escape. Now, Mark was going back in, going home. He could feel it, the air getting heavier, as if the concrete itself had soaked in fear. Something had happened here, something buried, something dark. On the 4th level of the tunnel, they heard it, a scraping sound, ragged breathing, then a scream. Human. "He's already out," Rainer whispered, tensing. "But he hasn't left the complex. We still have time." "Who?" Lara asked, though deep down she already knew. "The Black Beast," Mark answered, his voice low, rough. The beast inside him already knew who was waiting. He could feel it. They reached the storage level, the walls smeared with blood, glass shattered from the inside, the floor littered with bodies. But they weren't just killed. They were torn, like they'd exploded from the inside out. Every corpse marked by claws. But these claws were different, larger, wider, non-human, savage, and yet intelligent. Silence. Lara stayed behind at the control panel, working to crack the lockdown. Rainer and Mark moved down one more level, to the heart, to the capsule chamber, the place where he used to sleep. "I can feel him," Rainer whispered. "He's watching." "From where?" Mark turned, alert, a sound like a rock falling in the distance, a vibration beneath their feet. "He's not hiding," Rainer growled. "He's waiting." And then the lights died, a beat of silence. Then footsteps, heavy, slow, echoing through the concrete. But this wasn't someone coming. It was something. Something that doesn't talk, doesn't negotiate. It takes. Rainer leapt into the dark. He roared. Then metal crashed against bone, and then Mark saw him, the Black Beast, massive, as if forged from nightmares. Its skin, charred and armored with jagged black plating. Its jaw hung open, but there was no tongue, just the sound of a furnace. A roar that shook the walls. It moved silently, but when it struck, Raynor went flying across the room like a rag doll. Mark charged, claws out, instinct full throttle. But the creature was faster. A blow to the ribs, and pain, real pain, shot through Mark's chest like fire wrapping around bone. They fought, in darkness, in blood, in howls and metal. The beast inside Mark howled with joy. Finally, a worthy opponent. But the man in him resisted, because he knew, if he lost, there'd be no stopping this thing, no one left. And so, Mark did the one thing he feared most. He let the beast take over, fully. His body stretched, grew, claws extending, eyes dimming, then reigniting with a blinding blue glow. The beast inside was no longer a shadow. It was a weapon. He leapt at the black one. And in that instant, the floor beneath them gave way. They both plunged to the lower level, and the fight descended into the heart of hell. They hit the bottom with a deafening crash, echoing through every tunnel of the complex. Debris, dust, wires, sparks. A storm of ruin surrounded them. Mark was the first to rise. His chest heaved. Claws sliced the air. His eyes glowed with a cold, inhuman light. But the black one rose too, silent, unshaken. Its body felt nothing, no pain, no fatigue, just that void in its eyes, and a predator's focus. Mark no longer knew if he was man or monster. He felt the voice inside, no longer whispering, but commanding. His entire being, rewired for survival. And yet, something held him back. A spark, a flicker of will. Human. The black one roared, and the real fight began. This wasn't a battle. It was a collision of forces, a war of instinct and rage. They tore through the concrete pit, shattering walls, ripping through metal, smashing equipment like toys. Each strike could tear a car in half. Claws scraped against armor like knives on glass. Chunks of ceiling rained down, blocking exits, and the lights flickered out for good. They fought in total darkness. But they saw each other clearly. The black one was smarter than he seemed. He didn't just attack. He calculated, studied, searched for weakness. When Mark hesitated, the black one vanished from sight, reappearing behind him, and drove an elbow into his spine. Mark howled, collapsing. His ribs felt shattered. Blood throbbed in his ears. And then, a voice, not his. "You won't beat him like this. You have to remember who you are." He shut his eyes, and fragments of memory flickered. His wife's hands, his child's laughter, the factory horn, pain, a cage, and fourth line. The running, the dark, walls stained with his own blood, and then a calling. He understood. He wasn't just a victim. He'd been chosen. Because there was something in him that others didn't have. Strength? Yes. But also will. Not just the power to transform, but the ability to control it. He rose, blood dripped from his chin. His chest heaved. But his eyes? They had changed. No longer wild. No longer beast. They were aware. He charged. And now? It wasn't brute force. It was precision. A war against the very nature of the monster. He dodged strikes, anticipated movement, made the black one stumble. He didn't aim for the chest, but for the joints, the seams. He knew now. This thing was built, and anything built can be taken apart. When he drove his claws into the base of its neck, a deep, hollow moan echoed from within. The creature recoiled for the first time. It screamed, not from pain, but from rage. The tunnel shook. Mark leapt in after him, and then everything started to tremble. Lara's voice rang in his ear. "Mark, you triggered a chain reaction. I tried to override the system, but it looped into an emergency protocol. The base will collapse in 20 minutes. "Raynor?" Mark gasped, dodging a blow. "He's at the exit." Trying to hold the lift open. Get him out. I'll finish this. Mark, you won't make it out if you stay. Exactly. He struck again and again until the black one dropped to one knee. The beast hissed. Steam burst from its eyes. Then it spoke. You think this is the end? You think I'm the enemy? It chuckled. Low, endless. You fool. I'm just the threshold. You haven't seen the real ones. They're coming. And you'll lead them. Mark froze. Who are they? No answer. Only laughter. Dark, boundless, and rising from deep beneath the earth. The ground beneath them shook. Chunks of concrete started crashing down from the ceiling. Mark made one final move. He drove his claws straight into the black one's chest, right into the burning source. The metallic heart cracked, sparked, then exploded in a flash of white light. The creature screamed, and Mark ran. Through dust, through thunder, through crumbling walls, upward, toward the light, toward the exit. He didn't know if he'd make it. Mark burst out of hell's mouth at the very last second. The elevator shot upward, its steel walls rattling, engine roaring louder than the collapsing base below. The complex was caving in on itself. Waves of dust burst upward, shaking the shaft. The black one vanished beneath the rubble, but its laughter still echoed in Mark's mind. Like it hadn't died, just sunk deeper inside him. He collapsed on the floor, barely conscious. His body screamed, ribs cracked, ears pounding. Lara knelt beside him, in her eyes, fear. Not for herself, for him. We didn't wipe it all, she said softly. Some of the data, it got transferred. Someone downloaded files during the collapse. Who? Mark rasped. I don't know, but the signal, it didn't go to the States. It went into the ocean, to coordinates that don't belong to any known land, just water, miles of it. Mark's jaw clenched. Something inside him pulsed. Not his own. The beast was different now. After the fight with the black one, something had changed. Deeper, darker, infected. He was hearing thoughts that weren't his, seeing dreams that didn't belong to him. He saw the ocean. Rayner stood at the exit staring into nothing. His mechanical eye flickered. I know that place, he said. Deep water, concrete pillars beneath the seafloor, underwater lifts. We were there before. Me and others before you. Where? Mark asked. It was called the A-Tier Initiative, a hidden branch of Project Lycan, their true center. They weren't building soldiers there. They were building gods. Mark's breath caught. Who are they? The ones the black one spoke about? I don't know, Rayner replied, but they're ancient, not genetic, not viral, something else. A force they tried to harness. They called it the primordial blood. Mark stood. His body still ached, but his eyes were clear now. Then, we're going there, to find the truth, to find them. That's suicide, Lara whispered. It's not a base, it's a cult. Technology and ritual. Cells that don't hold beasts. But things far worse. Then that's where we go. They left the ruins of Fireheart Base before the cleanup drones arrived. Smoke trailed behind them, ash, the scent of scorched steel. But the fear inside them wasn't about what had happened. It was about what was coming. By the next day, they reached an old bay on the west coast. Rumors said secret ships used to depart from here, vessels bound for nowhere. But the man who greeted them was no sailor. A gray cloak, ash-colored eyes, no name. We've been expecting you, he said calmly. You're either the last hope or the first threat. Who are you? Mark asked. We are the remnants, the ones who survived the first wave, the ones who saw them. You call it the primordial blood. But that's just a fragment, a drop. What sleeps in the deep has no name. He turned toward the ocean, toward waves slapping against a hidden concrete platform beneath the cliffs. We'll take you there. But understand, those who enter don't always return human and the beast inside you might not want to come back. Mark said nothing. He stared at the horizon. Beneath miles of water, in submerged halls and forgotten tunnels, something was waiting, and it already knew his name. The boat left under cover of darkness. No lights, no beacons, only stars above and black water below. Something moved under the hull. Huge, alive. Mark stood on deck, eyes locked on the horizon. The ocean was silent. Too silent. Even the beast inside him had gone quiet. Not from fear, but from instinct. Pure survival. In the third hour of the voyage, the boat began to slow. A platform emerged from the mist. Massive, rusted, like an old oil rig forgotten by time. But no ships were docked, no lights, just silence. Overgrown staircases, and a hatch in the center. A hatch that led down into the deep. The man with ash-colored eyes walked them to the edge. "From here," he said, "you're on your own. No contact, just you and them." He opened the massive hatch. Inside, a ladder descending straight into darkness, down into the underworld. Mark, Lara, and Raynor climbed in. The shaft was vertical, its metal rungs slick with condensation. Somewhere far below, a deep hum echoed. Maybe machines, maybe something alive. After several long minutes, they stepped into a tunnel. Wet concrete walls etched with unfamiliar symbols burned into the stone. They pulsed with faint light, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. "This isn't a research station," Lara whispered. "It's a temple." The tunnel split ahead. One path led toward a technical block. Old labs where, judging by the marks, someone had been recently. The other descended into the depths, to a chamber Raynor claimed held the artifact, whatever that meant. They went left, toward the labs. Dust coated everything. But in some places, fresh tracks, blood, smashed equipment, capsules left open. Lara accessed a terminal. "Remote access," she muttered. "Someone hacked the system from inside. Not long ago. They weren't just waiting for us. They activated something." "What exactly?" Mark asked. "I don't know. The files are encrypted. But there are coordinates. A lower shaft, level 9. "Then that's where we're going," Mark growled. He could feel it. Not physically, but inside. The target was close, as if the primordial blood already knew he was here. On level 9, everything changed. The walls were smooth, polished like glass. The air was heavier. The scent, not metal or rot, but something ancient. Earth, bone, magic. They moved through the corridor and entered a chamber with a domed ceiling. And then they saw it. In the center stood a structure shaped like a sarcophagus. But it wasn't human. Around it, a circular platform, lined with needles, tubes, wires. The floor beneath it, a perfect black stone disc covered in symbols. Inside the sarcophagus, something waited, a translucent shell. And within, a form larger than any man. A creature fused of human, wolf, shadow, and something not of this world. It didn't move, but it pulsed. That pulse matched the rhythm of the glowing walls. "That's him," Lara whispered. "R, the firstborn." "Is he asleep?" Mark asked, though he already knew the answer. "No," Raynor said quietly. "He's waiting." Suddenly, the symbols on the walls flared red. A siren wailed. A voice echoed. "Activation sequence initiated. Biometric match confirmed. Subject alpha mark synchronized." Mark froze. "What does that mean?" "You're not just the key," Lara whispered, stepping back. "You're his, vessel." The beast inside Mark roared. But it wasn't his roar. Something was clawing its way out. His body burned. From the inside, searing, tearing. Inside the sarcophagus, R began to move. Slow, deliberate, eyes opened, blinding light. And then, darkness. And then, the howl. They had become one. The chamber trembled. Metal groaned. The symbols on the walls burned brighter. Raynor lunged for the control panel, desperately trying to shut the system down. But the sarcophagus was empty. Mark stood in the center of the circle, his eyes black as the void, his pulse undetectable, his body changing. Lara screamed, calling his name. He turned to her. "I remember who I am," he whispered. But so does he. And from his throat, a howl erupted. It cracked the walls. They had awakened the first. He stood there, bathed in a storm of light and shadow. Mark was no longer Mark. His skin shimmered like armor, smooth, inhuman. His veins burned like fire, and his eyes no longer reflected anything human. Only one thing pulsed inside them now. A will, ancient and starving. But somewhere deep inside, he was still there. He was fighting. "Mark!" Lara screamed, running toward him. "This isn't you! You're stronger than this. You're still human." He turned to her, and for just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. A spark, a shadow of will, of who he used to be. But then, R surged through him like a storm, and the voice that came from Mark's mouth was no longer his own. "You awakened what was meant to stay buried in darkness. You opened the gate. And now, no one will stop the coming of the blood tide." "The gate?" Raynor whispered, stepping back. "They're using his body as a conduit. But for what? What is the blood tide?" The ground shook. The floor moaned beneath their feet. Somewhere far below, deeper than the complex itself, ancient locks were breaking. Rivers of black liquid, thick, glistening, almost alive, surged through forgotten channels. The symbols on the walls ignited in crimson, and the water rose. It wasn't just liquid, it was blood, living blood. Primordial matter, filled with memories of worlds long gone. R, inside Mark, stepped toward the tide, and that's when Mark, deep within, screamed. He didn't let him merge, not yet. He fought back. He clutched his chest and roared, "No! This is my body! I won't surrender!" The water recoiled. The symbols dimmed. The walls trembled. A war had begun inside him. He collapsed to his knees, breathing hard, clawing at his own skin, desperate to rip the intruder out. And he almost succeeded. R shrieked in rage. The power dispersed, but only for a moment. From the shadows around the platform, they emerged. Figures in cloaks, hoods pulled low, silent, faceless. And yet, they spoke, with one voice, one mind. "You will not reject him, Mark. You are the chosen. Crafted by our hands, you must open the gate." "Who are you?" Mark gasped. "We are the Ash, keepers of the passage. We honor the first. And you are the vessel, the union of our blood and your flesh. You are the one to complete the cycle." Mark stood. His body trembled. Blood pulsed with fury. "I don't owe you anything." "Oh, but you do," one of them said, lowering his hood. Mark froze. It was his face, older, twisted, but unmistakably his. "Who are you?" "I am you, from another cycle, another attempt. I died and was brought back, but you were the first to endure. If you reject him, R will find another. But no one lasts longer than you." Lara stumbled back in horror. "This is a trap, Mark. They cloned you, tried again and again, until one didn't go insane." Mark clutched his head. The howl inside his skull shattered his thoughts. The beast thrashed. R clawed to break free. His blood burned like molten iron. He looked at his copy. "Then tell me, how do I stop this? How do I close the gate?" The copy smiled. "To seal the first, you must offer a sacrifice. Yourself. But not just death. You must dissolve, completely. Consume him, and never come back." Lara screamed. "No! No, Mark, there's another way. We'll find it. Together!" Mark turned to her slowly. A storm raged in his eyes. "We don't have time." And in that moment, R surged again. His roar echoed through the chamber. The blood tide rose. The gate began to open. Mark stepped forward toward the edge of the platform where the darkness pulsed, where it had all begun. But then, a gunshot. A bullet struck his shoulder. He staggered, spun around, and saw Raynor. "I'm sorry, brother," Raynor said, "but we still need you. We'll find another way." He tossed something into Lara's hands. A small device. A containment syringe. "This will inject a neurofield spike. Straight to the heart. It won't kill him, but it'll isolate R temporarily. It's a slim chance, but better than handing him to these lunatics." Mark was gasping. R was tearing at him from the inside. The gate pulsed behind him, but he was still standing, still fighting. How long could he hold on? The floor beneath the platform began to tremble. The symbols lit up one last time and froze. Raynor jammed the neurospike into Mark's shoulder. The surge ripped through him like a lightning storm. He howled, head thrown back. But his mind didn't fade. Number for a heartbeat. Everything became crystal clear. The darkness retreated. R hissed and went silent. The gate paused, but only for now. Lara rushed forward, placed her hand on Mark's chest. "Now, while he's weakened, we can shut down the system, but it has to be you. It's keyed to your biosignature." Mark clenched his fists. With every breath, he felt the alien presence clawing to break free again. But he stepped into the circle, stood tall, not as a beast, not as a vessel, but as a man, one who chooses his own fate. R's voice returned. Software, almost gentle. "If you close the gate, you'll deny this world its power. You'll deny yourself what you could become. I'm not your enemy. I am evolution. Without me, you are weak, fragile. But with me, you are more than man. You are forever." "Why, are you afraid?" Mark closed his eyes and remembered that first night after the bite, the screams at the factory, the blood, the fear, the exile, the endless running, the first kill, the taste of freedom, the pain of solitude. And then, Lara, Raynor. He remembered who he was. Not a shadow, not a weapon, not a god. A wolf. Free. Fierce. But with will. He squared his shoulders, stepped forward, and placed his hand into the core of the device. The pulse ignited. Signals froze. R's voice choked. The gate began to close. The shadows shrieked in fury. The priests charged, but Lara and Raynor blocked their path. Gunshots, roars, steel, death. Mark felt R clawing inside him, grasping at every cell, trying to stay. His heart stuttered. Veins bulged, skin split. His vision blurred. He was falling into the dark, but he kept repeating, like a prayer, I'm not you. With one last breath, he tore his hand free, and everything went dark. Silence. The ground buckled. The entire structure began to collapse. "Mark!" Lara screamed. "We have to go, now!" He barely stood. Raynor hauled him over his shoulder. They ran through crumbling corridors as the walls behind them came crashing down. The stairs were gone, only one path remained. The emergency shaft. They climbed, choking on dust and smoke. Lara emerged first. Raynor shoved Mark through and followed. The platform roared beneath them. Water and smoke exploded into the air. The entire underwater complex was gone, erased, and with it, R, or was he? 3 days passed. Mark stood at the edge of a cliff, gazing out over the ocean. Waves lapped quietly against the rocks. Lara approached from behind. "Can you still feel him?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. "He's gone, but not entirely. I'm a part of him now, forever. Do you think he'll come back?" "No, not him. But someone else might. The gate is closed, but the blood remains, and the world is already changing." She stayed silent. He turned, meeting her eyes. "When the next one comes, I'll be ready." "Not as a monster?" "No," he smiled. "As a wolf, with will." They walked along the shore, side by side and far beneath the surface, in the deepest dark. where no light reached. Two eyes opened, red, and a voice whispered, "The cycle will begin again."